Hi, I'm Mike Bellevue, and usually we're talking about black powder or military surplus handguns, and today I'd like to talk about a different kind of military surplus. This is my Lee Enfield. This is a number 4 Mark 1, and as you can see, it's been sporterized, and let's take a look at it. The original idea for this goes back 18 years when my son Stephen was 10 years old, and I wanted to build him a centerfire rifle that he could use for a long time. And of course, being a fairly young dad, I didn't have a lot of money, and I decided to take a Lee Enfield and turn it into a commercial grade sporter. And I really liked it so much, I decided to make one for myself. Though, as you can see, mine came out a little bit differently. I had a different concept. I offered Steve a Mannlicher stock, and he didn't like it. So I happen to love them, so that's what you'll see on mine. Well, we've got our Evil Roy target set up downrange, and I know you're used to seeing that cowboy silhouette on there, but right now I've got the 8-inch steel plate, and that's one of the beauties of this Evil Roy system, is it takes interchangeable heads. So you can set it up to do whatever you need to do in that particular day. So we've got this about 50 yards downrange. We've got the Lee Enfield Sporter. So let's see if we can make steel ring. Dead center. And that's why this was such a popular gun during World War I, and why it is one of my number 1 deer rifles right now in the 21st century. Dead center. My sporter started off looking more like this military rifle on the top, so I have to tell you, this military rifle is a much better specimen than my gun was when I first got it. I picked it up for 75 bucks from a guy who had really hacked it up, trying to do his own sporter using the original stock and just cutting it down and putting a leather cheek pad on it. And it was pretty horrific, so it was pretty much a junk gun when I got it. Well, the first thing that I want to do when I'm making a sporter out of an Enfield is I want to eliminate that long, kind of clunky looking box magazine. It's a 10-shot magazine, and what I'm going to do is cut it down until it is flush with the bottom of the stock. And the way I do that is pretty simple. I just mark the depth on the magazine and basically just cut it off. Take the follower and the spring out, of course. I cut it off, and I leave 2 tabs of steel on the sides of the magazine. Then I make a new floor plate out of sheet metal, and I bend those tabs over to secure it and put the spring and the follower back in, and man, I got a functioning magazine, and make sure that it does everything it needs to do in the gun. And then the next step I'm going to take is to make a decorative floor plate for it, because of course it looks like crap right now. So what I'll do is I'll take steel strip stock, and I will drill and tap 2 holes in it, and I'll drill that right through the bottom, the new bottom of the magazine, and I'll secure the new floor plate to the magazine with those screws. And then I cut those screws off, and I will shape that piece of steel until it's a decorative floor plate. And at that point, we're all set. Once the magazine's done, I like to work on the trigger guard. Now the trigger guard on top here is the military stock trigger guard. And as you can see, it has a very flat face where that magazine used to ride up along it. But of course the magazine is not going to be there anymore. So what I do is I contour that and give it more of a sporter shape. And after it's all shaped and I've polished everything up, then I spray it with Brownell's baked on lacquer finish and throw it in the oven until it's done, and then it puts a good hard black glossy finish on it, and we're all set. And the result is a much more sporter-like appearance. We've got our cut down Lee Enfield magazine, and I'm going to load 3 rounds in it. Now this could load with stripper clips right through the receiver if I didn't have a scope on it, but since I do have a scope on it, we're just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, and I'm going to be careful not to overlap the rims, because unlike 30-06 or 308, this 303 is a much older cartridge. It goes back to the 19th century, and it is rimmed. So let's go shoot. About my Enfield Sporter for deer hunting is I can walk into the woods with the gun empty before sunrise to get in position, and I can have a loaded magazine in my pocket. And when I'm where I want to be, it's an easy matter to just insert it, put a round in, and fire. As often as you need to. A fun gun to shoot, I gotta tell you. Well, let's have a little bit of fun. We've got a gallon jug of water set up 50 yards downrange. We got the Lee Enfield Sporter. Let's see if we can make a splash. I love that. I hope the Society to Prevent Cruelty to Water Jugs doesn't come after me for this. Unlike the earlier models of the SMLE, the Lee Enfield, the number 4 did away with the sight on the barrel, and it put on a receiver-mounted peep sight, a battle sight like we're used to now on more modern weapons, and those pretty much have become the vogue in World War II. And because of that, it makes it pretty easy to scope this, because there are aftermarket scope mounts that fit right in where that sight mounts, and gives you a very solid, fairly low scope mount, and turns this into a pretty good hunting rifle. I know what you're going to say. 50 yards with a scoped rifle, and a gallon's just not sporting. And you're right. So, let's try a 2-liter, see if I can hit that. Unlike the K98 version of the Mauser or the 03 Springfield, the Enfield cocks on closing. And that was considered in the Mauser action, the 92 Mauser, to be a disadvantage. But the Enfield actually has an incredibly smooth bolt, and made it one of the fastest shooting bolt action rifles of World War I. So you can see the cocking piece right here, like a Springfield or like a Mauser, very similar, and when it's back out, it's cocked. One of the things that makes an Enfield pretty easy to sporterize is the safety is located right here. It's not up on the cocking shroud the way it is on Springfields or on Mausers. So when it's back is safe, forward is ready to fire, and it does not interfere with the scope at all. So as I say, it's a fairly good candidate for sporterizing. Okay, I get it. Still too easy. Well, we'll go down to a 1-liter. But that's as far as I'm going. I mean, I got my limits. There's a reason why you didn't see me in the Olympics this summer. Well, I'm sure you've noticed by now that my Lee Enfield has a synthetic buttstock on it. And this was supposed to be a temporary expedient, but I've got to admit I've liked it so much that I've had this stock on for about 16 years now. These things come in a set, and you know, whether you call them fiberglass or polymer or whatever, I mean, they're artificial. And I never liked the look of the short forearm on this rifle. So I made a Mannlicher front stock for it, a full front stock, and that's what it's had. And I always said someday I would make a walnut buttstock for it, but you know, I'm probably never going to do it. I actually really like this stock. If you've seen any of my earlier videos, you know I have discovered the joys of smacking a honeydew melon with a high-powered pistol. So if a high-powered pistol is fun, what's a high-powered rifle going to be like? Let's see. Well, let's call this the deer's eye view of the Lee Enfield.